Fans of army builders rejoice, for there are army builders on this list. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony. Now, I've never particularly been quiet about the fact that console gaming and we don't really get on. Like, we did for a very, very long time, and then I sort of retired, and now I kind of come out of retiring every time there's a new Star Wars game, and then I go, or sometimes I just like to blow things up on GTA for a couple of hours, but that's really as into gaming as I get these days. Some of you may be wondering why that is, and the short answer is unfortunately Star Wars Battlefront 2, because the decision to include microtransactions and loot boxes, it really kind of spoiled that game for me. And I grew up on the original 2 Battlefront games, which always feels really weird to say, the original second one and the new first one. It's always been kind of weird to me, but I grew up on those games and I loved those games. And when 2015's Battlefront came out, it was good. It was good to see the updated graphics, but it never really lived up to the experience of the original. Battlefront 2 was kind of, it had the opposite effect. Like, it was really, really fun to play through the story, and I love the story mode. But as I say, the experience was kind of mired by the inclusion of all those weird decisions. Now, I have since returned to Battlefront 2, now that the game has been, somewhat completed, and they've decided they're not going to do any more with it, and I found that it is much better now that those loot boxes and microtransactions, they're still there if you still want to do that, but A, it'll really just affect your cosmetics, and B, if you don't want to touch them, you don't have to. It doesn't affect you whatsoever. The game has become a regular part of my kind of, I'm bored, I want to play a console game rotation, and I love it every single time it comes up. And sometimes in the Black Series, we're lucky enough to get characters or appearances of characters specifically from the Battlefront games. Old Master Maul springs to mind. I never expected to get that figure, and now I've got him. It's great that we have this additional source to get figures from, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to be bringing you 5-ish characters from the Battlefront games that I would like to see come to the Black Series. Now, we are only talking about the 2015 and I think 2017 game. I'm pretty sure those are the 2 years. And the reason for that is when we're doing these wish lists, we are talking about canon, and the original 2 Battlefront games are no longer canon. And personally, I think that the Clone Wars Season 6 upgrade to the Clone Trooper arc is way better than the original 501st Diary, but that's just me. And then, of course, we're only talking about regular releases and deluxe releases. We're not talking about vehicles. We're not talking about HasLabs. Let's get on with this. Let's get into some honorable mentions. Now, I may as well begin as I intend to proceed, and that's by hideously stretching and breaking my rules, because my first honorable mention is any of the Clone Legions. Now, the Basement Boys bring this idea up a lot, and I am a massive fan of this, the idea of a Legion line, where you can just get Clone Trooper or just Trooper repaints, because there are so many out there, and it feels like it'll be a really simple thing to do. You're using existing molds, you're using the Clone Trooper, the 2020 Stormtrooper, the First Order Stormtrooper, whatever, and you're just giving them a fresh coat of paint. And if you want to pull your sources from anywhere, and if it's not the Clone Wars, pull them from Battlefront, because Battlefront has got some of the best I've ever seen. Like, the Umbra Operative was an incredibly successful figure because that paint style is so cool. So any of the Clone Trooper Legions, I'd be very happy with any of those. In a similar kind of vein, I would like to see more examples of Old Master Maul. I'd like to see more examples of additional skins that we got for existing characters. And really, the main one here is Sith Eternal Emperor Palpatine. I want that figure so badly, and if it just has to be from the Battlefront game, like that's how I have to get him, then that's how I want to get him. And finally, for the honorable mentions, I want to talk about Shriv, the Duros guy that hangs out with Lando, who was like the best character in the campaign. I love this guy. He's so much fun. He's such a great character. Honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into the list itself. Coming in at number 5, we have BB-9E. Now, I am very, very surprised that we don't have this character already, because when The Last Jedi was kind of building up to its release, it kind of felt like he was being pushed as the dark side version of BB-8. BB-8 had been all over the marketing for The Force Awakens, so this kind of felt like this is the dark mascot. I mean, I remember there being a remote control BB-8 and then a remote control BB-9E, and 9E was the one that I wanted, because he's got such such a sleek and cool design. I just wanted him so badly, and then he never really came to the Black Series, and I've been looking all over, and there have been first order packs that have come out, and they don't have BB-9E in them. They've got like mouse droids or black R2 units, and no, I want BB-9E. So when he came to Battlefront 2, I was very, very happy to finally get to roll around, play as this guy, and just basically annoy people by rolling up to them and zapping them. The obvious argument for this one is that it would be insanely easy to produce this figure. You just use the existing BB-8 mold and give him a new head, and just give him a fresh coat of paint and you'll be good to go. With that being said though, I feel like we've kind of come a long way with droid figures recently. The new R2 figure that's coming out really kind of stands out to me because it's got so many add-ons and accessories that you could do some really cool stuff with him. So why not do the same thing with BB-9E? Like, give him some extensions that you can plug into the side of his ball mode. Hey, it might make it easier to stand up, because I've always had trouble with my BB-8 figure rolling over. I don't know if BB-9E could justify his own, like, singular release, just because when BB-8 came out, he was a twin pack with Rey, and even then, he didn't really feel like a twin pack per se. He felt like you were buying Scavenger Rey and you were getting BB-8 as an accessory. So maybe we could do that with BB-9E, like maybe release him with a generic First Order officer or something like that, one of the more unique First Order appearances, and that could work really, really well. I think he'd work best with an officer. I play the officer class a lot, mostly because I like using Hera's little blaster pistol, but I feel like that would be a good twin pack. It would be a pack with a First Order officer and BB-9E. I'd go out and buy that. I think that would be cool. So BB-9E comes in at number 5. At number 4, we have Admiral Garrick Versio. I love this guy. I think he is so, so cool. And just getting to see someone that high up in Imperial Command, where most of the time, yeah, he's your generic Imperial officer. He's just barking orders and he's saying, we're following orders. His daughter's like, I don't follow orders from dead men. You follow orders from me. But especially towards the end of the campaign, as you move into like the Battle of Jakku and his last stand, you kind of start to see something more behind this guy. Like, he does genuinely care about Iden, and even though he's incredibly stubborn and he insists on going down with the Empire, he lets his daughter live though. Even though she betrayed him, she betrayed the Empire, he lets her go, and that to me says there's something more to this guy, and I would like to get a Black Series figure of him. That's just my personal opinion there. I think that qualifies him for a Black Series figure. Not to mention the fact that it would be incredibly easy. I've talked about this time and time again. You could just make use of the old Grand Admiral Thrawn body, stick a new head on there, obviously paint the hands a different colour because it might be a bit more obvious, and you've effectively got an Admiral figure. Now obviously Versio is slightly more heavier built than Thrawn is, so maybe that could justify finally getting a new Imperial officer body to kind of represent these more bulky characters, but I feel like it could work. I feel like Thrawn's body or Tarkin's body, are they all the same body? They might all be the same body. It might actually be the Tarkin body that I'm talking about, but who knows? That could really work. And there's another reason that I want this guy in it, because I'm breaking my rules again. I'm bringing this in for another twin pack. I'd like to see Admiral Versio get packed with the Imperial messenger droid that shows up at the start of the campaign, with that spooky holographic Palpatine face. I think that would be fantastic. I would love that figure. I was almost going to give that figure its own spot on this list and just ramble about how much I love the design and how much I love this droid, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Like, I want to have Versio in the line more than I want to have this droid, but if I can have both, I will buy both. I don't know, Hasbro seems to be opening up willingness to work on 2-packs again. I know back in the day when the Red Line was coming out, the 2-packs and even 3-packs, they weren't very popular. They would just sort of sit on shelves for months on end and wouldn't move. But I feel like that was because the figures that you were getting in these packs already existed. Like, the one that springs to mind to me is the 3-pack with Jyn, Cassian, and the Death Trooper Specialist. Now, yeah, the Death Trooper Specialist comes with a little pauldron, so he is a unique figure. But essentially, you had 3 figures that already exist, 2 of which, the Jyn and the Cassian, have been all over shelves for months at that point, and weren't particularly great figures in the face or in the articulation. Everyone talks about Jin's gummy legs, and you're right, they're not great. The new one's much better. But these strange strange choices with the twin packs and the 3-packs back in the day really kind of killed it. But recently with their twin packs, even if they've been carbonized sometimes, and if carbonized is your thing, then good for you, it's not for me. But I feel like we've been getting some better picks for these twin packs. Usually you'll be seeing like a new figure and an existing figure. Look at the Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane twin pack, for instance. You're getting an existing Cad Bane with an exclusive head sculpt, you could say, and you're getting a brand new Cobb Vanth that, as yet, has not been released in single form in the main line, and I don't think he ever will be. So sticking with that idea, a repack and a retool of the old Imperial officer body to give us Admiral Versio would go very well with an Imperial messenger droid in a twin pack. That's my argument. I'm gonna leave it at that. Admiral Garrick Versio comes in at number 4.
But these are unusual times.
At number 3, we have the ISB agent. Now, when this guy was added to the game, I was very, very pleased because it's such a cool design. You know, you've got that kind of General Veer's Hoth battle armor with the helmet that Agent Callus wears. It just looks really, really cool. And then the weapon choices were all really cool, running around with twin blasters, blasting at rebels. It was awesome. But I think the main reason that I want this figure, yeah, I would quite like to build up like a little ISB troop, but it would just make it so much easier to create a custom Agent Callus. And I think if I'm being 100% honest with myself, that's probably the reason why I want it so badly, because it's a cool design and I would love to get it, but I would love to get Agent Callus even more. Now, everything I've already talked about with Callus back in the Rebels video is very true of the ISB agent. I feel like it would be a very simple figure to kind of bash together and create out of nothing. Like, you just stick some armor on a regular Imperial officer figure, there's that figure again. It's a tried and true mold, to be honest. The Imperial officer is a good mold. All you would really have to sculpt is the new helmet, and then once you've sculpted that helmet and stuck it on maybe like a Death Squadron commander figure, you would have everything you needed to create an ISB agent, and I think that would be really cool. Throw in some different weapon choices for him, like obviously the twin pistols are a must-have, but I feel like I would buy that. Like, I feel like if I saw that on a shelf, like a Gaming Greats Black Series ISB agent, I would buy it. So let's go for it. The ISB agent comes in at number 3. At number 2, we have the BX Series Commando droids. Now, this was a very obvious exclusion from my Clone Wars list, because that was the show that really introduced us to these droids. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to focus more on the characters that we were missing than the army builders, you know, the faceless troops of the Clone Wars. I wanted to focus more on the characters. But being as we're talking about a game where you predominantly play as the troopers, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring this idea back. And I feel like this is the most likely of my choices to get made, because Star Wars Outlaws is coming, and obviously there is a BX Series Commando droid appearing in the main cast. Now, he's got a massive great big trench coat on, but you know if they're going to make that figure, they're going to build the BX Series droid body underneath it. It's similar to how they did that Ithorian from Galaxy's Edge, and then you peel back the soft goods, and there's the Ithorian from the Cantina as well. And now we know he's coming. He's been pipelined. So this really, to me, is a no-brainer, because these guys are seriously cool. Now, I don't mind admitting that my kill-to-death ratio on Battlefront is appalling. I'm not good at shooters. I'm not good at this kind of game. But when I'm playing as the BX Series Commando droid, I do much, much better. I don't know if it's the blaster that they use. I don't know if it's the combination of their abilities to throw that smoke screen down and then use the heat vision to lock onto targets. I don't know if it's the vibroblade. Maybe it's the vibroblade. I have a lot of fun playing with that, but I do so much better as the Commando droid, and that's kind of why I've ranked it so high, because it is my go-to character. If I can't play as a hero, because I like to have AI heroes in the game when I'm playing offline, and sometimes that means by the time I've got enough points together to play as a hero, they've all been taken, I will play as the Commando droid every single time, because that guy, I can play as him for a really long time and people just can't get me. Now, I feel like this has to include both the blaster and the vibroblade. Like, you have to have the options for both. And really, if you think about it, it wouldn't be that difficult to kind of mold the back of the figure to act as storage for the vibroblade. Like, you could have the vibroblade over his shoulder and have him holding his blaster. It'll look really, really cool. I don't know if maybe the legs would be too wiry, and maybe it would have issues standing. But like I said, I feel like they're going to make this figure anyway. It's an issue that they're going to have to get over. I need this droid, basically. I need this droid on my shelf. The BX Series Commando droid comes in at number 2.
What the...
But the number 1 pick from the Battlefront games that I would like to see come to the Black Series, I'm cheating again, it's Inferno Squad. Now, I know we've got the Inferno Squad agent in the line already because it was an exclusive figure that came with the game when you pre-ordered it, but as much as I like to pretend that that's Iden, and I know that there are people out there that have done some really, really impressive customs to turn it into Iden, I want Iden. I want Gideon Hask, I want Del Meeko, I want Commander Iden Versio. I want to have them with their helmets off, looking really, really cool. And I included all 3 of these guys as one pick, primarily because I didn't want Inferno Squad taking up like over half of my list choices, but also because when I'm talking about 3-packs that make sense, an Inferno Squad 3-pack with Iden, Del, and Gideon would just work, and I would buy it in a heart. Throw in a little Dio droid in there as well, and I'll be even happier. Hell, if we have to do individual releases, yeah, sure, I'd like to get their Imperial looks, but I would also take the Rebel appearances of Iden and Del. Hell, I'll even take the First Order appearance of Gideon Hask. Why not? I'll take all of them. This obviously plays in very well to my theory about give them options that are easy to create with existing parts, and that would be an easy choice. I think I brought these guys up in my accessory kit idea video, where I talked about maybe we get like little accessory kits that have got different blasters, alternate heads. I think the alternate head that I wanted for the Galactic Civil War era was an Iden Versio head to pop onto my Inferno Squad agent. So yeah, I know it's kind of cheating, but you should be used to me cheating by now. I do it a lot. I just think these figures would be really, really cool, and I love the idea of getting another squad into the Black Series, because those are usually my favorites. Like, I love getting, like, the Bad Batch, the Empire Strikes Back Bounty Hunters, the Rebels crew. I love getting all of those little squads together, and yeah, I would take a 3-pack. I would take an incredibly expensive 3-pack if it came with all 3 of these guys, and Dio, and all of their unique weapons, like Iden's blaster, and Del Meeko's sniper. I'd pay a lot of money for that. Don't even ask how much I would pay for that, because it's a lot and it's more than I care to admit. But Inferno Squad is the number 1 pick from the Battlefront games that I would like to see come to the Black Series.
Moff Wraith said they were needed for Operation Cinder, but he wouldn't tell us the target.
Neither would the Admiral. Now I know why.
So there you have it. Those were 5-ish picks from the Battlefront games that I would like to see come to the Black Series. So let me pass this subject off to you. What are some characters from the Battlefront games that you would like to see come to the Black Series? I know we usually talk about characters on this series, but you know what? Open the floodgates. Let me hear about what your favorite Clone Trooper legions from the game are, or your favorite custom appearance for an existing character. And I know they're not canon anymore, but we can talk about the original 2 Battlefront games, because they were kind of like my gaming childhood. Like, that and Dynasty Warriors is basically just everything I did from the ages of like 15 to 19. I just wanted to tag this on the end here because the HasLab Ghost project ended last night with a mind-blowing 21,500 orders. They only needed 8,000. They only needed 17,000 to do the complete set, but we got 21,500 people who ordered this ship, and I am beyond words. I really don't think that the full impact of how pleased I am about this has hit me yet, because I talk a lot on this channel about how Rebels means the world to me. Like, it is my favorite Star Wars media of anything. It's my favorite Star Wars anything. And now the Ghost is coming. I'm gonna have a 3 3/4 inch scale Ghost. Are you kidding me? Not only that, but because we met and blew past the 17,000 requirement, we're not only getting the full complement of the Ghost, Hera, Kanan, Ezra, and Zeb, but they've also said that they're going to release Sabine and Chopper in the main line down the line in the same mural style. Now, obviously, that doesn't bother me for the box, because the box is going in the bin, but the figures themselves, I feel like it's going to suit the display much more to have them being in their authentic Rebels colors. I feel like that's really going to mean something to me. I basically just wanted to add on the end here that I am absolutely thrilled about this. If you're one of the 21,500 people who backed this project, you have my sincere gratitude, because I think I would have been absolutely devastated if this hadn't worked out. I don't even like trying to think about how I would have felt if it hadn't worked. And I guess my takeaway from this, without wanting to be salty, is let's see this kind of community coming together the next time there's a Black Series HasLab. Like, I feel like in the afterglow of the Ghost's success, we've kind of forgotten about the Rancor and how certain people behaved while that project was going on. The people built their entire online identities around destroying and sabotaging that project. And yeah, you know what? While I may agree with some of your points, I still feel like $350 for a Rancor and Malakili was perfectly acceptable. Good luck getting that for that price now. I don't think that's ever going to happen. If the Rancor ever comes back, it ain't going to be $350. I can tell you that right now. This has just meant so much to me as a diehard Rebels fan and someone who has dealt with Rebels not being very popular in the fan base for a very, very long time. It's incredibly validating to see 21,500 people say, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna drop $500 on that ship. That's a cool ship. And you know what? If Ahsoka is the way that you're introduced to these characters and the way that you're introduced to the Ghost, then good for you. I'm not gonna sit here like a fan of Kate Bush's music and be like, oh, you only discovered Kate Bush because they put her music in Stranger Things. You're not a real fan. No, sod that. I don't care how you got here. I don't care how you discovered these characters and discovered this ship. I don't even particularly care if you never go back and watch the animated series, because animated shows aren't for everyone. There are people who don't like the Clone Wars purely because it's an animated show, and I get it. I disagree and I think you're mad, but I get it. But if this is how you discovered the Rebels crew and how you discovered the Ghost, then I am just happy that there's more people out there that love this ship as much as I do. Maybe not as much as I do, but close enough. Next time on the Wishlist series, we're going to be talking about the one that started it all, the series that started the new wave of live-action Star Wars TV shows. It's The Mandalorian. I love that show so much, and I love everything about what it has done to Star Wars storytelling and this little new era that we're in right now. I think it is absolutely brilliant. So I'm very, very excited to talk about that show. Considering The Mandalorian occupies such a massive space in the Black Series line, you wouldn't think that there would be too many characters that I could pick out, but you'd be wrong. There are quite a few. In the meantime, however, I've been Grand Moff Tony. Those were my top 5 Black Series wishlist picks for the Star Wars Battlefront games. You may subscribe when ready. You got stormtroopers running around with no helmets on. It's breaking Imperial protocol. Kind of went off the deep end for a second there. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Why can I not remember these characters' names for longer than a sentence? Ah!